So what did Jesus say about worship? We're going to turn quite a few pages to get to John chapter 4. John chapter 4, verse 24, this is the story of the woman at the well. This story is absolutely beautiful. I wish I had a lot of time to unpack this. Jesus does something that is incredibly rare in his ministry in this conversation, and he answers a direct question. He gets asked a direct question, which is clearly designed to get him off topic, and he answers it directly. It's very beautiful and a very tender thing for him to do. This woman at the well asks him a question about worship because she's afraid that he's going to continue to ask her questions about her personal life. And the whole point of Jesus' answer is summed up in John chapter 4, verse 24. And it says, God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. I want to be desirable to God. So that means I better figure out what it means to worship him in spirit and in truth. I think worshiping in truth is pretty easy. We get that pretty quickly, right? Worshiping in truth, that's summed up in worshiping with the truth of what we've learned through his word. The truest thing that could ever be is his word, right? And so we have to be in his word in order to know what is true. We have to be in his word in order to be able to filter out what is truth and not truth. That involves our not just our singing, what we're singing in church, but that also involves like what we consume, all right? We are the most inundated generation of people in the history of planet as far as marketing is concerned, right? Thousands and thousands of hours of commercials have we consumed in our lifetimes, right? We need a filter to be able to distinguish what is true and not true, and the best place that we can go for that is Scripture. And you're going to see that as a theme throughout the rest of the verses that we look at. We need to know the Bible in order to know what is truth. We need to know his Scripture in order to be able to worship him in spirit and in truth. And so it goes beyond this concept of like what worshiping in spirit goes beyond this concept of like worshiping when the mood is right. Right? We're going to continue to explore what it means to worship in the spirit, but I just want to press in on this for a second. It's not just worshiping in spirit means more than worshiping when you're in church. It means having intentional times when your spirit says, you need to stop what you're doing and give praise. You need to stop what you're doing and do the Miriam thing and recognize who just saved you through that terrifying intersection. It means being willing to worship when there is truth in front of you, regardless if it's in the form of a modern worship song or in a hymn. It means not just when the lights are down and the mood is right, and not when the music is just the right volume level or loud enough or not loud enough. It means coming to him with all that we have. Our spirit involves all of us. And so Matthew 5:8 says, this is Jesus' own words. He's talking to the Pharisees, and he says, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. Honor him with their lips, but their hearts are far from them. They are unable to worship in spirit. And so worshiping in spirit doesn't just mean that we can say the right things. And worshiping in spirit doesn't just mean that you are doing the right things. You can go into the flying V during worship and your heart be far. Right? And so remember what Tim said, our hearts lead our brains more than our brains lead our hearts. This worship in spirit thing happens from the inside out. It's born out of relationship with Jesus. It's born out of being renewed by him. It's born out of this new life and a recognition that everything I am and everything I have and the scope of the history of the world matters not at all compared to the greatness of who he is. And that's gonna spill out somewhere. Worshiping in the Spirit, worshiping from your heart involves what's in the inside coming out. And so worship to Jesus means that God is Spirit. And we have to figure out what it means to worship him in spirit and his truth. We have to ask that question, what is on the inside of me? Is the inside of me pushing me closer to Jesus?